Hello and welcome to No Small Questions, the show where we answer your burning questions about us, about D&D, and of course, all things No Small Roles. Woo, 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 woo. I'm Vicky Gaskin. Pardon me, I've got a bit of a croaky voice today. It's the end of a long tour in the summer. I'm Vicky. I play Juna Septhorn in our main campaign, as well as such characters as Rox Mayastani, Gale, Barb, and Valerie in our fabulous spin-off episodes. Tonight, I will be grilling the one and only Baby David.
Hello. But I am also here questioning you, Vicky. Yep, I'm David Knight, Dungeon Master of No Small Roles, and I have played some other characters in the little spin-offs. I was Dar Mayastani in our Candlekeep stuff. I played Aris Hemlock in the Wodenars episode, and Ruana in the most recent, the Familiar Problem, Ruana and Company, which is currently a Patreon exclusive, but it's going to be hitting our main feed later this month. Toward the end of October. So look out for that.
Check it out. I've listened to some of it, and it is really good.
It's lots of fun.
It's really fun. So we are also joined by some of our patrons live in the Zoom. Hello, patrons. And they get to enjoy our every retcon in live time, as well as getting to ask us questions yourself if you want to. So yeah, if you think of any questions, let Ben know. He's behind the scenes pulling all the strings like Erida.
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 So first of all, spoiler alert, everybody.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert! We are going to be talking about episodes up to and including episode 77, The Crown's Wood. So if you're not up to date, hit the pause button, go back, have a listen, and come back. This is your final warning. You have been warned. You've been warned.
That's the nicest way anyone has ever said you have been warned.
Been warned? Actually, you've been warned?
You have been warned.
You have been warned.
So tonight we will be asking questions sent in by you and by the cast. And we got a few for each other, haven't we, Baby David?
I do. And I've got, the first one to kick us off, to throw over to you, Vicky. Sending or scrying? Now, if you had to keep one and get rid of one, which way are you going? Where are your loyalties lying? Sending or scrying?
Knee-jerk reaction, sending.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think I've had it for longer. I think scrying is fun.
I feel like you get a lot of juicy gossip out of the scry, but
that's true.
You get more chats with the sending.
Yeah. And I feel like sending is linking Juna to Ginger. So, I stick by my answer.
Do a bit of sending. And then as a related question, we've got from Martin S. Do you use sending and scrying more or less as a result of knowing that I, David, will have to come up with something that is happening far away? Do you do it purposefully? Are you toying with me, Vicky?
Well, I don't do it purposely, but I feel like I am toying with you. So a mixture of the two. I do. I like. And so David and I sometimes I might give him a bit of a heads up if I'm thinking of doing a big scry.
Yeah, you're very good for being like, I'm gonna message this person and look on this person, and you give me a whole list of things that you might potentially do.
Yeah, I think it's nice. It gives you a moment to go, oh, actually. I feel like I'll get a better sending or scry for giving you a heads up, so you can give me some meat, you know.
Yeah. There have been occasions when you have thrown one out that I wasn't expecting, but then we just do. Speaking of fairly recently, where you were like, "Oh, I'm just gonna scry on Dwayne, see what Dwayne's doing." I'm like, I don't know. I've not spoken to Jeremy. I don't know what Dwayne's up to. But this is where the power of editing comes in, because quite often we'll pause and I will step away for a second and do a little scribble of 25 words, or just have a moment to figure out,
work out what's going on. I never do on purpose. I think that's the thing with D&D, isn't it? Like, it's like life. You can plan this, that, and the other, and then in the moment you're like, "This is what I want to do."
Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
That's the short answer. Okay, so our next question is a live question. We have Ashley in the Zoom with us right now, and you've got a question for David.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hey,
Ashley. So for David,
Hey-yo.
Has there been an instrument you've been tempted or have started to learn to add to the podcast?
That's a great question.
That
by
is
the
a
way.
really good question. I am notorious for not being able to play instruments. And yes, having then been spending a lot of time on my computer writing and scoring, and it's lovely and I love it so much. I have then slowly gathered other instruments in the house. I've got a guitar, I've got a violin with only 2 strings on, I've got a piano. Can't really play any of these things. I can just about play the ukulele, but I was seeing a thing the other day on the TikToks that I was like, that's like, I love the sound of a cello. The chances of me ever actually being able to play a cello fairly slim. I mean, never say never, but there was a thing that was, I think it's called like a pick-a-bow, which is, it's like a tiny little guitar pick with some almost like cello-like bowstring on it. And then you can use it on a guitar to make a cello-ish sound. I'm kind of obsessed. Anyway, I've ordered one. And then again, can't play the guitar, but I have one, and so I'm going to be sat there by myself, just like strumming away. Well, not really strumming, bowing away on my guitar.
I feel like that is very baby David to be doing that.
Yeah. But no, yeah, like, so you might once it's arrived and once I've got a handle on it, I might just have to like sneak it in to various points in upcoming episodes, just so that like, you know, put some live sounds in there a bit more. But yeah, so in short, tempted to learn, yes. Actually learned, no. I'm a very bad musician.
You're also a very busy man. Many plates spinning.
I love plates. Not all of them smashed, so that's good.
Hey.
Thanks, Ashley. That's a good question.
It's a great question.
Thank you, guys.
So, throwing it over to you now, Vicky. We've got one from James Blake, who has asked, if you could have changed one event during the campaign, what would you change and why? Like, so for example, you might have decided to save Enkidu from dying, chosen someone else in that moment, for instance. Like, is there something that you'd change?
That. So there's
that thing.
there's two things that I would have changed. The first is when we were in the corridors and when we were voting for the person who ended up dying and being sort of changed. If Juna had picked anyone else in the party, it would have been Juna who would have gone rather than Enkidu. And so I would have just picked someone else. And I remember I let fate decide and rolled a dice. I rolled a die, sorry. And it was Enkidu. And so, yeah, I would pick anyone else in the party, therefore saving Enkidu. And it would sit much better with Juna that it was her that died than Enkidu dying. And the other thing that I would change is not leading Kral to Rwana.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think about that a lot. I think it was really bad. You know, we didn't do it on purpose, but I just think like I love Ruana, the familiar, but I loved Ruana, the character. I feel like Juna really felt a connection to her, and then she died basically saving us. So that would be my less obvious one.
Yeah. I do wonder how things might have turned out differently in all of that.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, he still probably would have, he was already raising dead animals, so that like kind of thing would have, it might not have been on such a big scale. And you might have, I mean, if Ruana had survived, not saying, maybe you should have done this, but if Ruana had survived, like she might have been able to then like help in some way, like protect the town from him.
And I feel like that henge is very, very vulnerable.
Yeah.
Now that we are thinking more about henges, I'm just like, what is going on at the Tillisham henge? And if Ruana was there, I, Vicky, and I, Juna, would feel much, much better about that. So yeah that would be the other thing, the less obvious thing that I would change. David, Baby D, on a similar vibe, Grace has a question for you.
Okay.
And her question is, are there any paths you wish the party had taken, but it's now too late to incorporate? So what should we have done is essentially her question.
What plot lines have I had to trim?
And is saving Ruana one of those?
What? Oh, that is an interesting one. I feel like you've hit a lot of the plot points that I have planned before. I mean, like, I'm not like I am sort of letting the planning, whilst I have grand plans and answers for many things, have followed where you're going. So like laid to the track for you rather than laying too far out to the sides. I was thinking the other day, and I can't really talk about it just in case I do use it, but there is like a whole section of stuff that I'm almost a little bit worried won't come in. It might do, but it might almost have to be like, I might have to leave it for like post-campaign, like little adventures if we get to that point, you know?
Oh, baby David, what are you doing to us? It's so teasing.
Or I mean, there's always I had planned many more Twain Tide Tea challenges, so we could have done more of those if you'd gone down other.
If the world had not been completely falling apart around us while we were doing the
I mean, the duck hunt, like I
changed my last answer. My biggest regret is that we didn't do the duck hunt.
Which I might just tell you. So the duck hunt is that it's basically just a little cross-city like scavenger hunt following signs and statues, which then lead you eventually down a little alleyway, down a little alleyway to a little courtyard where there was a statue of like the mayor's favorite duck in a little courtyard, and just reaching that point you would have gotten a spoon.
Oh, I feel like that could very easily be a little one shot, right?
Oh yeah, finding the duck.
Yeah. Ben looks very excited right now. Nodding in his little Zoom box.
Yeah. Oh, actually, one other thing that like you did miss, but again, tied in with the 20 tournament in Forlos Vale, is that if one of the challenges there was a history lesson, right? You could have gone to one of the schools, and you would have had to sit through a history lesson. But to make that more than just like you sitting there and listening to some exposition about the city, blah blah blah. That is also where, and I've completely forgotten his name now. What's the little boy from the Vondel family called?
Oh, God.
I don't have my notes in front of me.
Austin. It sounds a bit like Austin.
Oskin. That's right.
Pip is thumbs upping, and I trust you, Pip.
This is why the super fans are amazing. They just got the answers to all of the notes in my head. Thanks, everyone. So if you'd gone to the school and listened through the history lesson, as you come out, Oskin Vondel, little boy now in care of Berrien, had been placed into this school as like, this is now your education, and he would have gone off on you. He wouldn't have been in a happy little state, because ultimately,
oh my God,
as he sees it from a child's point of view, you know, you are the reason that he's now in this situation. But
at least he's not dead.
He's not dead.
Yeah.
He's in a safe place. He's having his education. So silver linings for him. I know it's all under Berrien's care, so maybe not silver linings.
Yeah.
But that's where he is at the moment.
This is so juicy. Juice coming out all over the place, baby David.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, talking like plot points and stuff. I mean, Juna being a 7-petaled flower, one of the petals. Superfan Sam has a question for you, and then I've got a whole bunch of follow-up questions.
Have you?
Yeah, I genuinely did. So Superfan Sam's question: have any doubts begun to creep into Juna's mind about her role within the 7 petals? And then sort of as part of it, like, how much flexibility did you give me when you came up with the concept? Like, where did the concept come from?
So the concept came from, it was a discussion between us kind of at the beginning. I think because obviously I've played a lot of D&D with you, baby David, before.
Nope.
Just say no.
You know.
I thought you were like, no. I was like,
nope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty sure we did an entire 7-year campaign.
A whole 7-year campaign, yeah. And what everyone now knows about you, but didn't necessarily know before this started, is how great you are at like taking ideas that we give you and weaving them in these like fantastic ways that we could never dream up ourselves. So I knew that I wanted a part of my character to be really like up for interpretation by you as the DM. And so, yeah, when I was thinking about the 7-petaled flower, I I think I said to you, like, this is what Juna believes about it. You can decide how true that is in the world. So what I know is what Juna knows, which is that she trusts it implicitly, and there isn't any doubt in her mind about the role in the sort of 7-petal flower. And I think she very much says that she's for the balance, but I think her belief structure is so that she thinks that everyone believes that they're for the balance until told otherwise. So I think there's no doubt sort of in her mind about like the like what it is, what it stands for. But I know behind it that David can do anything he wants with that belief system. And it does, I do feel very vulnerable because I feel like, you know, obviously in the back of our minds, we have this time scale where Ginger is on a bison getting gradually closer and closer. And eventually, hopefully, we will meet Ginger, and she's someone who Juna really trusts with her life. So, yeah, I guess I just have sort of left myself open to David really playing with the moral compass of Juna, where she actually is.
Yeah.
Like, and I think, you know, with the introduction of Kierda and how he has been trained completely differently from Juna. Like, I remember like that episode being like, God, this throws a real spanner in the works, because Juna just assumed she would meet another gnome and they would say all the same stuff that she believes in.
Everyone's sort of being taught the same thing, but
yeah, and he very much isn't. And so, yeah, to answer the second part of the question, David has complete flexibility with, yeah, how it works, whether we will meet any more gnomes, like all of that. It's just, yeah, something that I wanted to give Juna, but to give you loads and loads of playing space to how that sort of manifests in the campaign. But I do like being at the mercy of baby David DM. It's very exciting.
Well, I hope I'm taking good care of you in that. Like, and like it, what is nice is, yeah, that you've sort of given like the outline of something, but said it's almost like a coloring book. You've gone like, here's the picture, color it in how you want. But I know like what the rough outline is, which is really cool.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of Juna for me, this wasn't like part of the design of Juna, but I think like from where I come from as in my spirituality, which is I've realized in my adult life that I grew up with no religion around me at all, which I didn't think was an unusual thing. I just thought you didn't have religion until you had it. And so I'm very like interested and intrigued by the idea of organized religion, of spirituality, and sort of in my adult life, I've sort of come to a much more like secular, like Wiccan, witchy side of spirituality. So I do like, I'm very interested in, yeah, like how beliefs work and how much should you trust them and shouldn't you trust them. So I guess there's a bit of that in it as well, for a bit of more of a serious answer.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
For where like Juna is now, sort of just heading into the Crown's Wood, just dealing with some bugs biting her friends. How like is she still, with everything she's been through? Is she still quite secure in her belief, or like is there like beyond this meeting Kierda moment? Is there anything that's making her assess it more?
Not yet.
Mm-hmm.
I would say she's still very, yeah, like she's sort of a couple of 100 years into this belief. So I think it's going to take more to derail her than someone not having the exact same belief system.
Yeah.
I think she's definitely struggled with Ginger saying like don't have anything to do with Kierda and I'm coming, and also just being very drawn to Kierda. I think that's rumpled her somewhat, but not derailed her belief system. Yeah.
What do you think when eventually, or if eventually, hopefully you will meet Ginger? What do you think Ginger's going to say about that whole thing? Like what is Juna expecting from Ginger?
I think it changes. I think like initially I think she's like, shit, I'm in trouble, because Ginger only appears at key moments. So I think the fact that she's like, I'm coming straight away, I think Juna's like I'm in trouble. Then I think she went through a bit of a like, is this the sort of next chapter in her learning as a petal person? Not a petal person, like as a flower gnome. Like, is Ginger going to share something new with her, which I think she still thinks might happen. Golems are fun was a big moment for Juna, like with regards to Ginger, where she's like, because Ginger was already on her way, wasn't she? I think when that came out, was she?
I think so.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
I think she. I don't know.
No, that was
Was that before?
Yeah,
it was pre-Kida, but I think the fact that she was like, golems sound fun, like with regards to a massive golem army that like threatens the future of the world. So I think
there is a flippancy in that, isn't there? Like, big army, great.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of like nerves, like before you go on stage kind of thing, or like nerves before you do a bungee jump, where you're sort of like a bit unsure about what's going to happen, but kind of looking forward to it at the same time. Yeah.
Small pause. I've just realised I'm not wearing my headphones. Sorry, editor.
David, put your headphones on.
I got so carried away with the chatting.
You're in trouble now.
I'm very sorry, everybody. I'm a professional.
Are they plugged in?
No.
What is Ginger going to say about that then, David?
Oh, she's going to have words with me. I'm sorry, Ginger. Hello, regular listeners. If you're wondering why my voice has just changed, it might have done. I didn't have my headphones plugged in, did I? Well, now they are. On with the show. So then my follow-up to all of this, when you are actually in front of Ginger, how much is Juna gonna tell her? Or like almost the opposite, like how much is Juna gonna hold back from like sharing with Ginger?
Are you going to use this against me?
No. I'm
going to give you the honest answer anyway, because I can't do anything else. I reserve the right to change my mind in gameplay.
Yeah.
But I think she's going to be very open and honest with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's the person Juna trusts the most. So I think she's going to really hope that Ginger can like help. So I think she feels like it's her duty to tell her everything, but also I think she will want to. I think she'll be really excited to see her because Ginger is, I don't know how much I've gone into the history of like Juna with everyone, but obviously you and I know that like she had a natural family that she was taken away from as she was born and raised by Ginger. So Ginger's sort of the only real family that exists because she is a flower gnome. So I think it's I think she'll be very much like, this is everything that's happened. What do I do? And I think, depending on what Ginger says, I don't know if that's going to align with what the Fate Mark 5 are doing. So I think that's going to be a really interesting moment for Juna if that doesn't marry up.
Yeah, there's going to be a bit of...
But don't take that as an idea.
No. I'm just thinking about everybody else's reactions. Like, you just know, like, Enkidu is always very protected of like the information that everyone knows.
And I think he's particularly...
He's skeptical about Ginger anyway,
He's very skeptical about Ginger, and I think Guy was as well.
Yeah, so how much they're going to be like, no, don't tell her. But also she has been journeying for quite a while.
Yeah.
And, you check in with her about various other things, so she might, she's got some loose threads of like what you've been up to.
Yeah.
You've asked her about henges, you've asked her about golem armies, she knows about that.
Yeah.
So she's not completely out of the loop.
No.
But yeah, it'd be interesting.
And yeah, like you say, she's travelled a really long way. She's acquired a bison.
She's acquired a bison. Cool. Let's open it up to people in the Zoom again. We've got more questions.
We've got Ashley again, and he's got a question for you, David, again.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Hello again.
Hey, Ash.
So, David, if you didn't play Rwana, what familiar would you have gone with?
Oh, in the familiar problem side miniseries. Oh, that's a good one. I can't remember the full list. What was really nice about that is just seeing like everybody be silly animals. What would I have gone with? I think I would have gone with some kind of reptile, maybe like a snake or something, if that was allowable.
Ooh.
Yeah, I feel there were a lot of birds floating around. I know Ben was playing a little gecko, but even that gecko chameleon was also a bird technically. So yeah, I think I'd go with a snake if I was allowed. That's fun. That's different.
You're so Slytherin.
What can I say? Represent. But I'd have no idea how they would have tied in with like it was really like Grace did an excellent job of running that little game. Like I basically said, like she asked me, oh, like, you know, are there any guidelines? Are there anything that I am allowed to do? I'm not allowed to do? And I was like, no, have fun. Like we know roughly what it is that we're trying to do. Ruana's going after that little Volpatinger, but everything else have free reign. So to turn up and have like this entire village that she'd created of like stuff going on, and then have everybody's animals like woven into like the fabric of the village as well, it was really cool. So yeah, I'm sure there would have been space for a snake outside of outside of all of that. Don't know, maybe carry in the wedding rings or something. That's what I would have gone with.
And for Vicky, if you got to play in it, what would you have been if you couldn't play Ruana?
So I've only listened to, I think, the first 15 minutes of A Familiar Problem. I've been really enjoying it. So my answers are going to be Rogue. I think it would have been fun to have played Russell.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he features in the latter portions, but I think that would have been quite fun to have just sort of turned up and been him.
Being the antagonist of it.
Yeah. But I think, like, I would have loved to have played something really, like, cute, like a little kitten or a bunny rabbit, and been really fierce. Like, I'm not cute. Stop telling me I'm cute. Like, that kind of character, I think, would have been fun.
Yeah, that's good.
As not knowing the fabric of the story.
Yeah, you should listen to the rest of it. There was a lot of fun and pure chaos in the second episode, especially.
Oh, I'm very excited to listen to it. I loved the bit that I've listened to is really fun and really funny.
How about you, Ashley? If you were a familiar, what kind of animal would you be?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think I would be something like flying. Like maybe not a bird, but like maybe homebrew, like sort of like the bird characteristics, but like pseudo dragon.
Yeah, like a little. I always think, those tiny like flying snakes as well. I mean, leaning it back into the snakes, like are really cool little things. And so to have like a little pseudo dragon. Okay, so we've got bunny, rabbit, snake, and pseudo dragon. The three of us on a little adventure.
Can I change my answer to cute Almiraj just because I don't feel magical enough?
Sure. And between the three of us, we will cause chaos.
Yeah!
Chaos is the best.
Yeah. Thanks, Ashley.
Those good questions.
That was good. That was a fun little mini series. That was really, really fun. And speaking of Grace, apparently she's got a question for us both, Vicky.
Okay.
She wants to know who our favorite NPCs from recent episodes have been.
Petra. I love Petra.
Me too.
Yeah. And obviously she is currently off with Orin. So we will be seeing her again, which is very exciting. I loved when you would first described her when she was in the bell jar. And there's something kind of exciting about how much do we trust her? I don't know.
Is she a safe person?
Is she a safe person? Who knows? It is the last. This isn't a spoiler, but I love that. Like she's gathering allies, and we are like, oh, so she's doing shit. And I love the way you play her. I think like I feel about Petra like I felt about you playing Lady Vondel. There's a certain type of like female energy that you just get so right, David. And I just love it.
I do love Petra. Like I feel like a lot of her personality just comes from me trying to put my voice as high as possible. It's just hello, it's all okay, and I'm in charge and stuff. And it's like as long as I can throw it up there as high as I can go, then the rest of her kind of follows.
Yeah, it really does. Fun. It really does.
For me though, like I want more Eustace in the show, and I know he's like a little. He's been barding and he's off barding now, but I loved him so much.
I agree. And we all tried to get in there with him, didn't we?
Everybody was trying it on.
Everyone wanted a bit of Eustace.
Yeah, but he had his eye on Gaius.
He did. His eye on Guy.
He had his eye on Guy. I mean, get out of the way, everybody else.
I don't blame him.
Bard on Bard. How we like it.
Bard on Bard.
Yeah.
Great question, Grace. Thank you.
Thanks.
I've got a question now from superfan Sam. He would like to know, David, were you prepared and planned for the scrying on Gwen's mother? Was it something you were anticipating? And did you have a backup vision if June had decided to scry at a later opportunity? So I know we've sort of touched on this, but specifically that scry, because that was a bit of an epic scry. It was a big reveal as well.
Yeah. It's so funny because it basically with again, you had let me know in advance that you wanted to scry on Gwendolyn's mum, which is really it's very helpful to have a little bit of a pre-plan. But like alongside like thinking, oh, what is she up to at the moment? And also in like so many ways, how can I bring her from Orkosh in a completely different country, nowhere near the plot at all? Like, how can I bring her closer and like into the plot?
Which I love that instead of just being like, yeah, she's just sort of sitting around cooking in Orkosh.
Just chilling somewhere else. Yeah. that would have been the second scry if you'd gone in for another one. And now she's just having dinner. Yeah. But yeah, at the same time, I was then like thinking and planning about what has Oren been up to, and like what is Petra doing. And I was like, those two things marry up so beautifully, so nicely. So yeah, just like bring them both down into Mervai. Petra's there looking for allies. And again, it kind of makes sense in like the time period stuff. Like Petra's been out of action for about 30 years. Like I know Gwendolyn's about 20, but like it can kind of match up that Sigrid was perhaps like crossing into the country like around that long ago, and it's like sort of doing the like some of the sort of more infiltration-y stuff is how she met then Gwendolyn's dad. So like, was there something else with her coming in and out of the country? In my head, I'm like, yeah, it could kind of make sense if Petra has like a little connection there. So yeah, it all lined up so nicely and neatly, and also then made for a juicy moment.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, here's what it is, and also, haha, a little hint as to what Oren's been up to.
And when you were saying like what they were wearing and where they were, did you know that Daryl would immediately that Enkidu would put those two things together? Yeah.
Like as soon as I said gold cloaks, like I could see Daryl's face be like, like he knew instantly what was happening. Yeah.
It was very clever.
Again, like that's something we've like in discussion with Daryl, like about his backstory, that like he'd been a gold cloak for a bit, he'd done training in the palace. So like I was like, I'm placing it exactly like all of the clues are there for the party to tear apart.
It's very cool.
It is cool.
And did you know, I'm just going to quiz you about that particular scrying in the hope of getting more information. Did you know what Gwen's mom looked like until the scry? Like, had you created Sigrid, or was it that when we scryed on her, you were like, okay, she's got to be this physical being now?
Again, it's like partly down to you being so helpful and letting me know. I'd very sneakily just like had a whole chat about Sigrid with Gwendolyn, to the point that I was like, let's just check in. Like the name is on my notes is going to be what it like you still feel like you want it to be, and like what does she maybe look like? Like what do you know about your mum? To like basically picked Grace's mind on like all of the information that she had, and then like fed it in. So yeah, I knew ahead of time like who then Sigrid was a bit more and like her position. So yeah. It's really fun to have like in the moment spur of the creativity, but it's also for me personally find it so helpful just having like just that little bit of a heads up, you know what I mean? just enough that I can go, cool. And like again, like for the listeners, Vicky has got quite a long list at various points, being like, I want to tick this off at some point. I'm not saying like I'm going to do it next record or anything like that, but this is what I'm thinking about, and when I get the opportunity. So I feel like I've had enough time to play with so many different answers and so many different like scenes and moments. Also, now I've just got a running thing in my own DM notes at the top of each like episode is just like sending and scrying. So I've just got like a list of like, just in case anything comes up this episode, this is where the different characters are at.
You're very clever, baby David.
Nah. So yeah, coming back to like the Ruana chat. Question for you, Vicky, from Floofto Beans. Are there any forms?
Name,
I know.
by the way.
I love it. Are there any forms that you're really excited to have Ruana take? She's a bloodhound at the moment, I think.
She is. Or is this like in the future, or excited that she has to? I'll answer both of them.
Yeah.
I love that she's a bloodhound, mainly because as a bloodhound, she has the smell of the faceless footman. So
yes.
My hope is that even if she does change form, she will always be able to return to a bloodhound and smell the faceless footman. We won't know this until that event happens. If she does change shape again, I don't know.
Until it's too late.
Until it's too late. Are there any? I mean, now that you've mentioned a pseudo dragon, that would be cool, right?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. That'd be really cool.
I do think I can't remember who I spoke to about this. I was talking to someone about it because when I first had Ruana, like many things in D&D, I didn't know what the like normal way to play a familiar is, and that most people play their familiar as one animal. I thought it was very normal for just it to be different animals. So I feel like, I don't know, like it'd be nice further down the line if she sort of finds her creature, but I don't know how that would go. Like
demons from
his
Dark Materials.
Yeah. So maybe, she'll start preferring different what are they called? Like
forms.
Different forms to others. But
yeah. I feel like being a bloodhound does suit her quite a lot.
Mm.
But also like every time she's in some kind of bird form as well. Like both of those, I know they're very different, but they both feel very Ruana.
Yeah. I feel like also Ruana arrived as a raven. So I feel like there is something quite bird-like about her. But who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? Only Ruana knows. Not the two people who have ever played her.
Not us who control her within this imaginary game that we play.
Can't speak for her.
No, we've got no idea what she's thinking or feeling.
Yes. But yeah, moving on, Floof Toe Beans also has a question for you, David.
Fun.
With folk stories becoming such a theme at the moment, are there any IRL folk tales that you've used as inspiration?
Yes. Can I tell you what they are off the top of my head now? No.
Just so listeners, Floof Toe Beans is in the chat and I can see Floof nodding, thumbs upping.
Yeah, I mean, I love folk stories. I love how I grew up reading like all of the classic Greek myths that everybody knows. Yeah, your Arachne and Troy and Hercules and all of that. But what's been amazing the more I've grown up is just how the world has developed over the past 30 odd years. Oh gosh, I'm getting into my 30s. Is how many how access to so many folk stories from everywhere have really come about. I've been going to the library with my little one and getting compilations of stories from around the world, and they're so much fun to read, and there's so they're because each one is a little they're normally a 5-page story, really. You can boil them down to just how bizarre all of these old stories really are when you get into them. You're just like, oh cool, and that's what, and yeah, sure, now he's a cockroach. Yeah, and that's just how that story goes. We read we were reading some Nordic ones the other day, And like there was this whole fact in it that I was like, I didn't even realize that was a thing in like these old Nordic culture. It starts with Loki fishing, and he catches an otter and he kills the otter. Anyway, it turns out that otter was actually a shape-shifting brother, and the other brothers turn up and like, oh my god, you've killed our brother. And Loki's like, don't worry about it because I can just pay you. And they were like, oh yeah, because that was fine back then. If you did a murder, you just pay the money and everyone is happy with it. Apparently, that's fine. Obviously, like the story then goes on, and like the gold is cursed, and the brothers become greedy. One of them turns into a dragon, and then the story goes even further on, and like somebody hunts down the dragon and all the rest of it. But I was just like, that's such a like, as like just that little like concept of like dropping that into a culture somewhere in our D&D world of just being like, oh yeah, feel free to murder, like as long as you pay for it, it's great. It's not great, like it's like you've settled your debt, you've settled the score with gold.
So your little one is learning valuable life lessons.
Valuable life lessons. Maybe I shouldn't read that one to her again. Good point. Yeah, where do you like? Because you write a lot of these little folk stories, Vicky. Like, where do you pull your inspirations from?
All of Juna's stories come from ideas, I guess, rather than like actual stories. So I think, yeah, with all of them, it's like what is the message that Juna is telling, and then turning that into a metaphor. Yeah, I think that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
I mean, I love, like, growing up, I loved stories like Grimm's fairy tales, like classic, I guess, like Western literature, that, things like Peter Pan, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, Juna's stories are very much, this is the idea. Let's work back at what that metaphor is. But I think when you hear a story and you're like, oh, that's what that means. Like, I guess Aesop's Fables is that kind of vibe, isn't it? Where it's about animals, but you're like, okay.
Yeah, and it's especially like, that is what's really nice about the stories that you've then come up with, is that, I feel like I've said this before, is that like the characters get something out of it, but then everybody sat at the table is like, oh yeah, that's a really good way to look at those kinds of problems, like, oh yeah, like maybe I could apply that in my life.
Yeah. I think we've recorded them, but they've not been released. There's a couple of quite like intricate dark ones coming up. I feel like Juna and Vicky take a turn. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the stuff we've got coming up is like, oh, okay, we're into the serious. Yeah,
we've had our twain-tied tea fun. Yeah, now we've got to get into the seriousness of it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is fun. I've got a question for both of us from Ross Meikle, rhymes with treacle. Hi, Ross. With Doctor Who approaching its 60th anniversary, how would each of the fate-marked 5 be as a companion of the Doctor? That's really fun.
I'm going to let you answer this because I don't know very much about Doctor Who. I'm afraid. I'm really sorry.
That's okay.
So you can answer and then I'll chime in.
It's more, I suppose the question is how, if each of them were traveling through time with someone who was perhaps slightly more unhinged than they were, how would they deal with that? I don't know if any of them would become love interests. Maybe Gaius. Maybe Gaius would be a Doctor love interest.
I feel like Juna could get on board with a time traveling unhinged person. That sounds like she could really go there.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of them would kind of like lean into that. Yeah.
So my answer, Ross, is going to be fuck buddy.
Yes. I mean, to be fair, the Doctor would be older than Juna. So yeah. Yeah, I wonder. I feel like Orin and the Doctor would really like click on the whole sciencey front. And Kida would definitely be in with like, let's help everybody we come across. Like we have to like interject as much as possible to like do the right thing and like help the right person. Gwendolyn would be down for all of the adventure shenanigans. And then Gaius would be flirting and romancing. I think that's what the state that Gaius would be in.
And what about Juna? What do you think Juna would actually do?
I think Juna would, in a similar way that she's doing with the party, like she really looks after them. Like she's like, oh yeah, we're all going on, like we're having a lovely time. Oh, we're dealing with the problems, but also, has everybody had a cup of tea? Like, are you okay? Do you want to
Have
sit
you
and talk
addressed
about
your
it?
mental health?
Have you addressed it? And I feel like she'd be doing that with a doctor who notoriously avoids like all of their own like personal issues as much as possible. So June would be constantly by like, come sit down. Stop running around, doctor. Come on, let's have a chat and a cup of tea.
Thank you, Ross. That was really fun. And I feel
fun.
like I've learned something about Doctor Who as well. So it was really educational. Our next question is from Alice, who is in the Zoom. Alice, would you like to ask the question for yourself?
Hi.
Yay.
Hi,
Hey,
Alice.
Alice.
So my question is, it's kind of been covered in Deacon Debrief a little bit with David, but definitely not with Vicky. So post Gruesome Adventures, do you like... Oh, sorry, I've got to do the voice. Do you like scary movies? And if so, which is your favourite?
I like some scary movies, but not all of them. I'm very, very squeamish, so I'm not a gore person. So I've never seen any of the Saw movies. So it definitely wouldn't be then. And obviously the end of the Gruesome Adventures, I found very intense. And yeah, I do like scary movies, but like I still have nightmares about the Blair Witch Project from, I mean, when did that come out? Like around the millennium? Like, so I like being scared. Jump scary ones are my safe place with scary movies, or Hocus Pocus.
Is Hocus Pocus a scary movie? It's got witches.
I thought I'd drop it in there. So yeah, like things like Scream. I really love Scream because I can be scared, but then when I go to bed at night, it's like in that world. Whereas I'm like, is the Blair Witch gonna get me? Or like, is the Ring gonna happen? And so it's gonna come out of my TV screen. So I guess my answer is I do like scary movies when I can leave them in the movie and not worry that they're going to get me. Yeah, certain ones. Hostel really got me. All of the like cutting things off and that kind of stuff. Nah, that's not for me.
To offer a film not to watch then, don't watch Smile, Vicky. Don't even try that.
Okay, I won't.
I watched the first, 10 minutes and I was like, and I'm putting that one off. We're done, Smile. Goodbye. So yeah, avoid
Noted.
that one.
Thank you.
Not a good one. I mean, it's good, but it's no.
I think my favourite one, I don't even know if this is a scary movie, but my favourite like scary-ish movie is The Orphanage. The Spanish one, or Spanish language. It was very clever and it was just scary enough and I could put it to bed.
How about you, Alice? Are you a horror fan?
Yeah, I am actually.
Ooh.
I really enjoyed Smile. I thought it was great.
I just couldn't get just that very first scene in literally the first Smile scene. I was like, oh, cool. Before the title of the film came up, I was like, man, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. Yeah, what's your go-to horror?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Yay. Probably Scream, actually. I have rewatched that so many times. It's so great because I think it gets better once you know who did it, because then you're just watching it going, oh, it's that one that's doing it now, and that kind of thing. Try not to do spoilers for a 30-year-old.
I feel like as well with Scream, like it came out I was just the right age when it came out to like be slightly too young to really see it in the cinema, but did, you know? I felt badass and I feel very softcore when it comes to horror movies, Alice.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you,
Alice.
And it's good to see you.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you.
That was a fun little gruesome adventure, actually, with Deacon.
It was
and
great.
It's going to have no repercussions with the main story at all.
Definitely.
Do
you know what, David? I was talking to Daryl the other day saying that we should do a little getaway and recording episodes again.
We should.
It was lovely. It was lovely.
Let's do another one. Let's do it again.
Let's play D&D.
So to start rounding it out, as I can have a look at the time, see that we're getting close to the end. Vicky, one for you, another one from Grace. She says, Juna has a really useful set of spells building up. How does it feel having her as the super spy of the party? And was this always the intention, or did it just kind of happen?
It just kind of happened. I think if you'd have said to me, this is the character that Juna is going to become, I'd have said I don't want to play her. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think. And I remember like putting Juna together as a character, like mechanically, and being like, well, she needs a bit of fighting. I can't play a character that doesn't like do fighting. And I think a couple of the spells that I've replaced have been those sort of fighty spells along the way. But I think I was coming off the back of playing, like a level 20 barbarian. So your head kind of goes to the last key character you've played, right?
Yeah.
And so I think
that safe space of like knowing how that works.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought she'd be much more, I guess, like Yoda than she is.
Yoda from like the prequel series, or Yoda from like, I'm a little old guy in a cave.
A bit of both.
Walking around my swamp.
I guess maybe
not
maybe
doing flips and stuff.
Maybe earlier Yoda, yeah, more flippy Yoda, like
Sure.
a bit more fighty. But I guess that's why it's great when you level up, right? Because then you make these decisions. There was one decision that was made by the patrons. I can't remember what spell it was, but there was a vote.
Yeah, there was a vote for which spell to choose.
I think it might have been Zone of Truth. I think
Which
that
has come in
was the
clutch,
spell.
actually, a couple
It
of times
has
as well.
really, 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 yeah. I don't know. Yeah, like I guess that's why it's really nice to level up, because then you're like, oh, she's sort of turning into this kind of person. And until I heard that, I didn't ever really think of her as like a spy character, but I guess she is.
Yeah, like that's the thing. She has become like information gatherer for the party, which is what's amazing about it. Like, fully is the one, and that's what's really, really, really helpful as like a plot device, is that I can like let you guys know some of the larger stuff that's happening without you guys having to be there because of Juna.
Yeah.
Juna's like, let me just check in on all of the other B plots, shall we? What's happening? Great. And I could be like, great, look, everyone, things are moving around. Lovely. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, V.
That's the new communication, where you tell me who to scry on, who to send a sending to.
I just really need you to check in on Berrien at this time. Something, not saying anything's going to happen, but something might happen.
On Berrien. We definitely should scry on Berrien, shouldn't we?
Should.
We definitely should.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as well, like what I love about the spy side of Juna is that we get to have fun. And it was really nice as well, Ben, when, Oren went off and Juna was sending like that kind of stuff. I quite like that, like mischievous, we're doing these things.
Yeah. You have been very cheeky on like contacting actual other people and getting them to record responses and stuff as well, and being like, don't worry, it's all, here it is.
Yeah.
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 Without any of the rest of the party knowing.
Yeah. I basically like secrets. So yeah, we are running out of time, baby David, but I have one more question for you.
Yeah, I think I know what's coming.
Which is in the form of a spell. So you had a delivery earlier, I understand.
I had a very confusing delivery to my house, everybody. Which I'm just going to show everybody that's in the chat. Whilst Vicky, if you want to explain anything, give me 2 seconds.
So I will be casting divination on baby David. And as such, I have sent him 25 gold pieces, pounds worth of flowers to be able to cast this spell this evening.
This is what arrived at my door. 25 pounds worth of flowers, everybody. You can hear that rustling. There you go. Lovely audio. 25 pounds worth of sunflowers at my house. And I was like, what is this? My wife going, who's sending you flowers?
Me.
Yo.
She plays D&D. She gets it. She plays a spellcaster. So yeah, I'm taking this shit seriously, baby David.
Okay, you've paid the spell fee. I assume I have to answer.
Yeah. So I will cast divination, and the question I am going to ask is, who can we trust?
Oh yeah, okay.
And just so everyone knows, I gave him no heads up with this at all.
Zero heads up.
Well, I tried
Who do you
to
trust?
put on the Instagram post that came out the other day, I'd like to cast divination on baby David, and I genuinely will send you £25 worth of flowers. And then Instagram gave me a warning, so I rephrased it with 25 gold pieces, and Instagram banned me from posting for 24 hours. So
Because she was trying to bribe me, is what Instagram for, violating the rules, sending people money across the internet.
Yep, violating the community rules of Instagram with a divination spell. So yeah, just so you all know, don't try and cast divination over Instagram. So yeah, subsequently, baby David had no idea what it all means.
I'm going to give you a fun answer. Who can you trust?
Yeah. And Ben has suggested that you can answer with flower interpretation if you would like.
No, I'm going to give you 2 words. Your friends. That face, Vicky.
I've spent 25 genuine pounds of my hard-earned cash on that.
You can trust your friends, which is a safe place to be in. And I think there's a number of people outside of the core group that Juna possibly considers her friends.
Okay. That's more £25 worth than I thought. Yeah.
But your friends, that's who you can trust.
Okay. let us know on the Zoom, or listeners, if you are happy with that answer from baby David.
If you think £25 worth of flowers deserves more.
And also, let's make a list of who we consider friends.
You better start thinking.
Yeah.
But that is all that we've got time for today. So can I say a very big thank you to all of our patrons and super fans who've joined us in the Zoom today. Thank you, everybody. And thank you to everyone who sent in questions. Sorry if we didn't get time to ask yours today, but every question that you send in, we add to a list. So next time either of us are in, or even if it's a good one for the group, we do pass it onwards. Don't you worry. You can also email any future questions to nosmallroles@hotmail.com, or slide into our DMs on social media, join the conversation on our friendly Discord. Come say hi.
I know it's my turn, but I'm trying to find an emoji to reply to Ross's chat. So isn't Keely Trustwell? I was going to do this face. You can show your support for No Small Roles by leaving us a review on iTunes and Podchaser. You can rate us 5 stars on Spotify, and you can support us on Patreon, where we have a range of membership levels.
Lovely range. Do you have anything else you'd like to plug, Vicky?
I do, actually.
Oh, what have you got?
So hot off the press, me and Ben Galpin are going on tour over Christmas.
Whoop, whoop.
Original music by Baby David. Costumes by Grace.
What's the show, Vicky?
What for?
A Christmas Carol. The show. I'm building up the suspense, boys. It is a Christmas Carol. Retcon. I should know the name of my theatre company. A Christmas Carol by Open Bar Theatre, touring to a Fuller's pub near you if you live in the south of England.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. Also, can I plug another thing?
Go for it. I've got no plugs, so take my plugs.
Also, if you haven't checked out the podcast, A Map to You, Life Stories from the Living, it is by the Dot Collective. It is an amazing podcast. I'm on it, along with lots of other people, who, including Daryl, is in one of the episodes, where we have gone into care settings, heard stories from people who are living with dementia, turned them into stories and performed them on the podcast. So yeah, I'd also like to. It came out a while ago, but if you haven't listened to it, this is just another, please listen to it. It's fantastic. Ben said bar humbug, but I'm assuming that's to A Christmas Carol as Scrooge, rather than he's not going to listen to this beautiful, lovely podcast that I've just
suggested. Lovely stories from dementia. No, don't want that. Get out of it, Ben.
And Ben has said we can do links in the show notes. Check that out for anything that you're unsure about. They're very good at putting things in the show notes, the editors. Thank you, editors.
Thank you, editors. Thank you, producers.
Yeah. And so
save our bacons.
Do you have anything you want to plug?
No, I don't. I have no plugs. Christmas Carol. I should probably do some work on that.
You should. I have another plug. It's less of a plug. Well, I know that this isn't coming out today.
Is your house just full of sockets?
More plugs than I'm plugging up like a dam. No, this isn't a plug, but I know this isn't coming out today, but it is my friend Ed's birthday and he will be listening. He is a listener to No Small Roles. So I know it's not your actual birthday today, Ed, but happy birthday because we're recording on your birthday. And thanks for listening to the show.
Well,
and I have another plug. I don't know.
Get out.
I
Stop.
don't know anymore.
I got to take my flowers. I got to plant them. Got to water them. I'm going to steal one of your lines. I think it's time to get ourselves a Twain Tide. So, friends in the Zoom, if you want to join in the traditional sign-off, please unmute yourselves. We'll do a 3, 2, 1, a non for now.
I'll count us down.
Count us down, mate.
All right. 3, 2. Okay. Yeah. I think there was a bit of a lag, wasn't there? I'll do it again. I'm going now. 3, 2, 1.
No. Chaos!
Well done, everybody. Thank you all for joining us.